The following is a conversation with Seun Anikulapo Kuti, a musician, a Grammy Award nominee, and his recent song Night Dreamer. You should catch that up on YouTube or check out his link on Instagram. The conversation is about history of justice and the if there's actually justice in history, and we went back and forth on some topics like racism, about on discrimination and it. And I had to ask a few questions for him to actually clarify for those who actually be listening to these, like this is some ideas floating around recently that are only Europeans capable of being racist and Americans capable of being racist, and that he clarified the idea that it isn't biological racism he was talking about. It was just the power, or a lot of people actually think it's actually something innate in Americans or Europeans, and I actually this is one of the purpose of this podcast was actually to clarify that. So I think we did that, and we went back and forth on justice and why Nigeria is still on the same spot. Africa wasn't the only country to be colonized, and but we are still here talking about it. And I think we'll be talking about the morality of the slave trade next week. The morality of slave trade next week, whether it's actually what the Europeans actually did, whether they are to be actually morally accountable for what they did. I think we're talking about religion. We'll be talking about some philosophy. So, for those who are not aware of this, of the purpose of this podcast, it is the first secular podcast in the history of Nigeria, and I'm actually proud of that. I'm really proud of that. So I talk about it a lot. It's the first secular podcast and YouTube channel in Nigeria, and the history of Nigeria. And I think secularism is actually the hope. That's what I actually think. It is the hope for if this country is ever to succeed, because it actually what causes conflict is worldviews. What causes conflict is worldviews, and I think we'll be talking about that next week. So follow me on Instagram, Paranormal DBK, Paranormal PARANORRMAL DBK on Twitter and Instagram if you're listening to this, and subscribe on my YouTube channel if you're actually listening to this on YouTube. And we'll be launching a documentary about like investigating all claims, supernatural claims, and documentary about pastors and Babalawo and Abbalist and all of those stuff. They actually believe they have supernatural power. Like religion actually have its hold on Nigerians, because these powers, these contradicting powers, are actually giving it flames and actually blowing the flames. Without Satan, I'm fairly certain that would be no good. So subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. Here is my conversation with Seun Anikulapo Kuti. How do you judge what is right and what is wrong? By what standard?
Well, I don't think there's any way to judge what is right and what is wrong, really. Society is basically about what is legal and what is illegal.
Okay.
And many times, what is legal is not always right, and what is illegal is not always wrong. So, right and wrong is a matter of perspective. It shifts too much for it to be definite. It's not a definite thing.
A lot of Pan-Africans out there, like the ones I actually see on Twitter and online, the most outspoken one, like the one with the highest amount of followers I see online, actually can talk about their Africa history, or Nigeria's history without saying the Americans wasn't the one who invented that, or the Americans were not the one who invented this, and it's actually creating some sort of hate, that I've actually seen as reactionary at around in the US. Like I've seen a lot of South Africans actually talking about it. And what do you think about that? Like talking about teaching our own history without involving the Americans or the Europeans. Like the Chinese are not saying, like the Chinese don't go about in their school saying stuff like it wasn't the Africans that did these things. It was us. What do you think about that?
Have you been to a Chinese school before to be sure they don't do that in China?
I have taken courses at Harvard University. I've taken courses. I'm actually presently even taking the course, a professional certificate, like 2 years. So I'm very sure my professors do not do that.
Harvard is not in China now.
Yeah. But they are professors of Chinese studies. Like they're professors of Chinese studies, and they like. Oh, no, of course now and that's actually correct. Like Harvard is
And
not
they
the
tell you
same.
that the Chinese people don't teach their history in relation to the West.
No, like they do that, but like comparing the magnitude of ships, like this actually, but not like the Chinese didn't invent these things. We did. Like this thing that didn't actually start from here. We did. I think it's actually better, in my own opinion, actually better to actually say, this is what we actually did. Though, this is the height of our achievement, instead of actually saying it wasn't the Chinese that actually did this, or the Americans or the Europeans that actually did these things. What do you think about that?
But the thing is that we don't even teach what we do in Nigeria. I don't get this question at all. I mean, it's not so. Pan-Africanists teach that because officially, in our official educational curriculum, those things are not taught. So, like for example, we are taught that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. That is official learning. That is official doctrine. That's official curriculum. I mean, how can you now say Africans should not talk about the truth of the matter in that aspect?
Like, I am
You
not
have to tell
saying.
children, oh, yeah, we know you think Mungo Park discovered River Niger, but Mungo Park didn't discover River Niger or whatever, so it has to be in relation. Because if there were no official lies, because, you mistake maybe epistemology for official, something that is official. This is official, so if you're going to debunk something that is official, you got to state the source of the information you are debunking. This is not a flaw, it's scholarship.
Okay, yeah, that is actually true. That's actually true. But something has to be. You have to be aware of what is
And the
actually.
Chinese, they do it. You should go and read about, don't learn about China from Harvard. If you want to learn about China, go and learn about China from the Chinese. The Chinese, they actually do, Do you hear about the Chinese Cultural Revolution? What do you think that was about?
It was about bringing a new,
So
like.
today, the Chinese can teach their history. The Chinese can teach their history in their schools today from a purely Chinese perspective. Why? Because the official narrative of Chinese education is Chinese.
Yeah.
They've undergone their cultural revolution under Chairman Mao. So the official narrative of Chinese history is Chinese. The official narrative of Nigerian history is American and British. It is not Nigerian, it is not African. The official narrative of African history is foreign. So if we're going to bar a cultural revolution, barring a cultural revolution that will change that, then when people will talk, they have to make reference to the official history to say, oh, this official history is wrong. So, I mean, when people are saying things like, oh, the Chinese and all that, I mean, and we are not Chinese. What the Chinese are doing doesn't mean it will work for me. That's the Chinese way. Let them do it.
All right, that's actually
Our way is to say what we say.
okay.
The Chinese, how would I put it? The Chinese,
if you ask a white supremacist about racial hierarchy, like the basic justification for racism, you would actually hear a very long lecture on some pseudoscientific ideas concerning biological differences. Like, you are most likely to be told that there is actually something about Caucasian blood or their genes that makes them superior. Right now, I've been hearing a lot of things like it only people actually say, like a lot of Africans actually say, it is only the Europeans and the Americans that are actually capable of being racist, or the Chinese or something like that. They are the only one capable of being racist. What do you think about that? Like, people actually say
it's very true.
It is very
Black
true.
people cannot be racist. Yes.
But
because no matter how you hate a white man, you cannot affect his housing. You cannot affect his work. You cannot affect his movement, even in your own country and in your community. How many white people have you heard have been killed in Nigeria before? How many white people have you heard that our police in Nigeria has killed by mistake? Because racism is not hate. This is what people always mistake because they don't understand racism. Racism is a power relationship. You understand? Where you use your power to discriminate against those not of your race. So there's a big power differential that has to play for you to be racist. So if a black man, the best a black man can do is be discriminatory or hateful, but to be racist is a whole different ball game, because no matter how you hate a white man, there's no way you can you cannot systematically affect his existence. And it is that systematic control of others' existence that is racism. So, yeah, black people cannot be racist. You don't have the power to be racist.
But what do you think about racism in speech? Like, when you actually say some stuff, some racist stuff, it doesn't actually have to be, you don't actually act the speech out before you're actually racist.
Like, what speech do you think is racist?
Like,
there's freedom of speech, so
all right.
People can say racist things, and you say that they are racist.
Like, actually saying, like, for Africans now, like a lot of white actually say some stuff, like, like white people or Americans or Europeans are just intellectually more advanced or more developed than Africans. There is actually no acting out there. There is actually no action, but the speech itself is actually racist. And I actually think like saying something like it is only like I don't know the basics or on what ground a lot of Africans or the people are actually saying these stuff actually grant these. Is it ideally or what is actually racist about Americans or Europeans that makes only Europeans or Americans or Chinese or Koreans, in fact, even Koreans capable of only being racist, that Africans can be racist about? Because you don't actually have to act racism out before you can be racist.
If you don't act racism out, then it cannot be racism. Racism is something that must be acted upon. Racism cannot be words alone. Then there's no racism. Then that one is just prejudice and discrimination. For there to be racism, there have to be action to back up those words. The words alone are not enough for one to be, racist. I can say you are discriminatory, I can say that you are prejudiced. But for there to be racism, there must have been action or historical action to back up those words. So that's why when white people say discriminatory things or prejudicial things against people of color all over the world, we say they are racist, because there's historical action backing those things that they have said.
What do you think about the concept or the idea of Africans? Like, the origin of all culture in Africa is actually from Egypt. Like, a lot of people, Africans here, they're actually correct. It's actually very different from the theological definition or the theological explanation they've been giving people in schools or wherever it is they've been learning their history from. But a lot of people actually say something like Africans actually descended from, or the origin of culture of Africans is actually from Egypt. What do you think about that?
Well, Egypt is definitely one of the most advanced cultural civilizations that ever existed. And yes, many of our own cultures actually came from our interaction with. So you have to see Africa then as one big community, where the Upper Nile area was the epitome of our, the way people today go to Jerusalem and Mecca. So Africans from all over the continent went to Egypt because that was our spiritual home, ancestral home. You understand? So I think that's the cultural. Egypt is the cultural foundation of all African people.
All right. So
yeah.
So it is not like we descended from them. It is just like we actually learned from them.
Yeah, I mean, who descended from who? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Who knows?
But humanity started somewhere around Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that area. You understand?
Yeah.
The oldest fossil fuels were found somewhere in the Horn of Africa, in East Africa. So the first men were from there. So we are all from there. This is science.
Oh
You
yeah,
understand?
it's actually science. Yeah. So this I want to actually ask.
Exactly.
I want to ask a question that something we actually previously discussed before on what America actually did right, and he said something like, I'm not actually very sure about what he actually said. He said something like it's because they were actually good at killing and or they're actually good at actually stealing people's justice. As that is actually true. Evidently, it's actually true. I want to actually talk about ask about this idea. Like, it wasn't only Africa that was actually colonized. Of course, globally as a continent right now, Africa is actually not faring well. But it wasn't only Africa that was actually colonized. China was colonized more times than Africa was. China was colonized during the Tang Dynasty, during the Yuan Dynasty, during the Qing Dynasty by the British. Uh, they were actually invaded more times than we were. Korea was actually colonized also. Taiwan also. And some other countries. But why do you think Africa never bounced back? All of these countries have bounced back. Like, why do you think Africa never bounced back? And a lot of Africans, Nigerians actually
Because
do not know.
Africans are the only ones who, even after our defeat of colonialism, we refuse to carry out a cultural revolution. Many of these people that you say they bounced out of colonialism, they have not. So when you say the Koreans are back in Korea, the Koreans that you think are free are those Koreans that have accepted the American way, that are no longer Koreans, that in their mind they are Europeans, the Christian Koreans, and the Southern Korea is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But is the West not still fighting Northern Korea?
Yeah, they are. They are still at all.
So why is North Korea not free like the way South Korea is free, progressing? Why?
Actually,
It's because the North Koreans refuse paternalistic freedom.
But,
look at Vietnam. So look at a country like Vietnam too.
Okay, but it is.
You understand?
Yeah. But
it is not enough for us to say, oh, Africans are still the ones still not doing well. No. Actually, it is a good thing because in a way it shows that majority of Africans still want to be African people. Majority of us still want to be totally free. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
that's what it means. It means that's why, they cannot take the chance to allow Africa its own leaders. When you say everybody was colonized, Africa is still colonized. Except you are one of those people that believe that raising of Nigerian flag means that we are independent people.
No.
We are still colonized because we've not really removed those institutions of colonialism that keep us down. We believe in the universalism that the white man preaches, which is a lie. The European preaches this universalism and the one man, but it's a lie. So as long as we operate the institutions that this colonial system set up, there's no way we can truly be free. If Nigerian banks are still run the way if Nigerian banks are still European institutions in the foundation of it, if our educational institutions are still European in its foundations, if our security institutions, our religious institutions are still European, then how can you truly say we stop colonialism or we are free?
Yeah, a lot of countries.
I don't think this is accurate.
A lot of countries are still using the educational system of from France. This educational system, the Prussian educational system that we're actually using, is actually originated from France. Not the examination system. Actually, the Chinese invented the examination system, but the educational system of graduating with age actually evolved in France. But so why do you think, if it's actually so bad, like how would you do it? Like the educational system.
It's not the educational system I'm telling you about. I'm telling you about the institution. There's a difference between the system and the institutions, right?
Yeah.
The system is everything. The institutions are the singular things that join together to form the system.
Okay, yeah.
When I tell you about the educational institutions, I'm telling you that our education is still largely European in its outlook. That's why they're still telling us that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. This is 2020. You understand?
But it is not the Americans that are actually doing that for us. It's actually the uncaring attitude of Nigerians that actually, the vast majority of teachers and all,
then you know nothing about university grants and things like that.
Yeah.
You see, just like the IMF and the World Bank, when they give us economic loans, they decide where we spend those loans, how we spend those loans, and how to run our economy because of those loans. So is the education. In the 70s, our education was completely Americanized through grants, something called, I think it was called the Monroe Doctrine. After the Second World War, and then the Marshall Plan was carried out. If you look at South America, the Americans did the same thing there in South America. So this is where they use grants to direct your education from higher institution all the way down to primary education. What to teach, how to teach it, the epistemology of it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the people of this place, we've not really decided, what our educational system is going to be like. We've just taken what has been given to us and we are regurgitating it.
But these things that we are actually trying to correct here in Nigeria, is actually something that they do not teach anymore in the US also. Like my professors, the course I actually take, my professors actually do not say, they've never said anything like it was something this Columbus actually discovered America. Clearly they've stated that Columbus did not discover America. But I think it is more to do with our teachers. Teachers in school that actually knows nothing. I'm actually emphasizing this in secondary school right now. They are still teaching people that we are Africans, that they're actually descended from.
Columbus
Yeah.
In America.
Yeah.
If you think your country still has Columbus Day as public holiday.
Yeah, Columbus Day. I don't understand.
America celebrates Columbus.
Wow, they celebrate Columbus Day. Wow. Wow, interesting. I actually didn't know that.
So you don't know that?
I didn't know that.
To Harvard?
Yeah. but yes, the course I'm taking, exactly. the professors are actually acknowledging the achievements and when you actually talk about someone's history, you silence others. That's what I actually noticed. When you talk about Africa's history or European history, you silence the voice of others, and that is actually very unfair. I think it's actually very unfair. But
this is the history that the white man has imposed on the. Listen, there's a history of man, right? There's a true history of man as one family. Then there's the European history of man. You see, and as long as this real history of man is not official, then history has to be broken down to empower those in the group that it concerns. So if this oppressive history of the West is imposed on me and my people, it is my duty. It is my duty to create the history that will empower us. See, without the oppressive history that the European has imposed on the world, then there will be no need for the rest of man to find his own true history, because the history of man is actually one. All achievement of man is achievement of humanity. It's something we should share. That is how it used to be. It was certain people that decided that they no longer wanted to share their own achievements with the rest of man and created racism. So, as long as that exists, it is not the place of the powerless to begin to find a way to free himself that will be comfortable for the powerful. Nah, it is our duty to free ourselves by any means necessary. So with that, I have to run away because it's 1:01 now, and I have another thing to do today. So, but we can continue next weekend.
All right. Thank you.